Alquintia Celine, better known to you as AKAnundrum, and I know why you're here, because I know why I'm here, for another exciting episode of the Drum Circle Show, where we highlight and amplify some of our unknown, lesser known, unsung, what I consider heroes of the entrepreneurial environment. So I have a very special guest, someone that I met actually trying to remedy some situations a couple of years ago for an app. You guys know that app in the business I talked about that didn't really quite take off, my first startup, anything, but met her in person. Phenomenal woman, and dealing with something that is so right now very popular in our culture. If you are in nails, if you are in makeup, cosmetology, or any industry like that, this is an episode you are definitely going to want to tune into. So you know how I do. With no further ado, I'm going to allow our guest to introduce herself, and so I'm passing it over to you.
Hey, my name is Naisa Celine. I'm the owner of Nail by Celine. I've been in business for 10 years. I have a brick and mortar in New Jersey. I just relocated to New Jersey. I am licensed in 3 different states. And that's the gist of me. I am a nail connoisseur, nail artiste, licensed nail artist, you name it. I love anything that has to do with nails. And I hope to give you some insight into the business today.
Yeah, nailed by Celine. Nails is your life. Okay, nails is your life. Now, right then, you just said you're licensed in 3 states. Okay, for those of us who don't know, so you don't just get a cosmetology license and it's a one-size-fits-all thing?
No, so we don't actually have a cosmetology license. We actually have a nail license. So in New York, I'm a nail specialist. In New Jersey, I'm a nail technician. And in Florida, I'm a nail specialist with a waxing background too. So it depends on different states. Your license also is not reciprocated in every state either. So coming from New York, I was missing my waxing license for Florida. So I had to go rush and go get my waxing license. So in different states, also the hours don't match up. If you're from Florida, and this is a good thing for people who are from Florida and are licensed, your Florida license is not reciprocated in a lot of states. So what that means is you have to go back to school in the new state that you're in and retake as if you're a newbie to get the license.
Wait, what? Okay, so you can't, oh my goodness. Okay, people, I'm finding this out for the first time, so we have to expand on this because I know this is not something that everyone knows, because typically we think cosmetology license, right? And we may kind of look at it through the lens of, say, a bachelor's degree from, as long as it's an accredited and accepted university. Typically when it comes to state, now we know going outside of the country, people face that, especially coming into America. I did not know it was such a differentiator state by state. And so this is not something you can just say, I'm licensed, I've been to school, let me take the test. You said you got to go to school again? Oh my God.
So when you're relocating, you really got to be real, you have to do the research. You cannot just move state to state. Like I moved from New Jersey to Florida. I could not just jump into somebody's salon. I had to wait to get my license. And in Florida, everything moves slow. So it took about 4 weeks for me to get licensed. Like I literally got to Florida on the 18th of April and I got my license on the 22nd of April, but I applied via March of this year. So it was literally 4 weeks of calling, like what's going on? I'm already, so you have to stay on it and do your research before you move from state to state, especially if you're established.
That's key. I mean, thank you for that. Right out the gate, you guys are getting value like immediately out the gate. Now, I'm gonna date myself here. You guys know I'm old school, honey. I'm back in the curled, when we were first curving, when you had to clip the 2 little sides to get the hump. I'm back in the airbrush days. I'm back in the 1980s, 90s sort of nail shop era, where that was new for us. I remember being in LA, South Central to be exact, where nail shops start springing up everywhere, and we were like really into the nail culture. And now it seems like it's taken a second wind, because I remember us being extreme with our nails at some point, very creative, nail art, nail jewelry, we were getting into everything. And then nails took a very subtle sort of a French tippy, very conservative, right? And now, honey, it is back with a vengeance, like nail art is back with a vengeance. So now, you being into nails, how do you feel about this resurgence of that type of a nail culture? And some would even say a co-opting, right? Some people said acceptance by the majority, but we know that wasn't always the case. And now there's this large, so go ahead on. I know you got some thoughts and feelings on that.
Well, it's so crazy because I remember 10 years ago when I started, one, I'm Haitian. So we're not supposed to be into nails. I'm supposed to be a nurse, a doctor, a lawyer, engineer. I only got 4 options in life, right? So coming from having my bachelor's and going into nails, I would encounter clients who are paying me or would bring their daughter to their appointments, and they would be interested in, no, you can't do nails. Like, no, you're gonna go get a real job. And I'm like, but you're sitting in front of me, ma'am, about to drop hundreds of dollars on my table, and this is not a real job to you. Now the pandemic came. The pandemic turned the business all the way upside down also, because we got a lot of nail techs that were not nail techs before the pandemic. And so it really made the business, one, safe, not safe. You got people just playing on people's nails. What was considered ghetto back in the day is no longer ghetto, it's art now. You have other cultures now. I wouldn't say culture vulture, but they are taking our art and it's no longer ghetto nails. It's now glam nails. It's now couture nails. So we're coming, but I also feel that there's still a setback for us as Black women coming into this business because, one, we don't own the products that we're using. We're starting to get there. We are not the supplier, we are the end user. So we'll get into that conversation, but I am happy of where we're going with this. And I'm happy that we are now broadening our horizons with nails, and it's making us more successful in this business.
Like an event, but that was one of the issues. So for those of you who know or don't know, I did create an app, a booking app. The primary focus initially was fashion, but then I wanted to expand it into cosmetology, hair, nails, makeup. And so as I was educating myself on the needs of what was going to be my primary user, which would have been the nail techs who were going to be placed on my app to book services, I was really trying to understand a little bit more about their world. And one of the things that startled me that I was unaware of was that supply chain that you're talking about. And that was, I remember hearing horror stories like, okay, now that Black women who were the primary consumers of nail art in the nail industry, and this was really an Asian-led industry, now that Black women were entering into becoming producers of this art form and text, that they were meeting resistance in terms of, one, the supplies were going up. They were finding out that vendors would not sell to them. I remember someone saying that they had to change their email to an Asian-looking email to even get responses and things from those vendors. And so that became an issue with the supply. Like, you guys are getting price gouged. Can you definitely speak on that?
So I have a really quick story. I've been using the same monomer, which is the liquid, for 8 years. Love it. Low odor, smells like bubble gum, doesn't burn, no allergic reactions. And for some reason, something happened with my vendor during the pandemic with his manufacturer. So he just started selling me anything. And now, after using this product for 8 years, you think I wouldn't know that you're selling me an MMA product? The smell of it, I felt like I was in a Vietnamese shop. I knew it was a different product. Now, the catch was, every gallon that I bought from him was $150. Okay. So by the time I spent about $450, I said, okay, wait a minute, because I'm going back and forth with him. I'm having disputes, but I didn't have, some people say, well, why didn't you stop after the first gallon? It's not that easy. When you find a product that you love, it's very hard to go to just any product, because now I have to deal with, is it going to stay? Is it going to retain? My clients come to me every 4 to 6 weeks. So then I said, you know what? All right. After the fourth gallon, and I realized that he was playing with my face, as the term is, I said, let me now speak to my vendor that I buy from in the Bronx. And I said to her, I want to get into this business. How do I go about making my own liquid? Well, she didn't want to give me too much information, so I went on my own venture. First of all, just for a R&D company, research and development company, for them to take some of the liquid I had left and to break it down was $75,000. That was the median price. $75,000 for research and development.
To reverse engineer that.
Just for them to break down the chemical components,
right?
To figure out what's in this original. So now me coming as a Black woman who's a mother of 5, who has 2 businesses, that I don't have 75 grand laying around. And if I did spend this 75, let's say I go get a loan, do I spend the $75? Is it guaranteed that I could break through this business? Because I'm a Black woman in a floodgates of Asians.
So what do you do? Right.
What I had to do is I had to now go back to like when I first started doing nails. I had to go through every product, error and trial until I found another product by this young Black woman, shot by Deja. It's called nail syrup. And that has been my go-to right now. And I'm sorry to like, drop her business in, but that's who I'm using right now. But you know how much money I had to waste? I went back to Young Nails. I went to oh my God, I can't even name how many brands I went through, but this is what we're going through right now.
Right. And I know that there was and this was pre-pandemic, you guys, where I met her. So this was not, okay, well, with the pandemic, prices went up. We know that overseas, we know that. And that was beyond a lot of the vendors' control. Their warehouses also were closed. So we know that there were issues that they did face, that we're not really trying to hold them accountable for. He may have not even been able to get and source his stuff like he used to. So we're not even like trying to hold him that way. But the issues I'm discussing, these were pre-pandemic. So we were meeting in 2019, 2018, where it was just because there was an influx of Black women into this industry that they were finding themselves being price gouged. And, one of the things that I was saying was like, okay, if you can't buy in bulk, one of the solutions that I was hoping for was that some of these nail techs will get together and realize like, listen, we're stronger together. So how about we put our money into a pot so we can buy in bulk, you know what I mean, to get our margins comfortable enough. And each one of us may take, the necessary amount and then resell some of the leftover inventory to other nail techs. That was the first thing that I could think of, because like you said, that's a lot of money if you want to start at the beginning of that process. And so what Celine has just given me is an opportunity for a very quick gem dropping moment. Now, what Celine and other nail techs like her faced is an issue when you enter into an industry and you find yourself as the producer of an industry where you are largely dependent on supplies via chemicals or services. And where you find yourself blocked off at is what's called vertical integration. And so you guys will probably know or be aware of, you will have a company who one starts off as maybe just a provider of a service, and then eventually they'll say, okay, I need to expand my business, and they get the warehouse. And so now they're starting to cut into their costs with that. But then it becomes an inventory issue of supplies in the supply chain. Some people then begin to produce said items so that they have more control over their entire chain and their line. This is a very expensive process, as you heard, but if given the opportunity, it could be very lucrative, because now not only are you able to take from your own supply, you're able to then become a reseller and competition for that industry. But it is not something that you take lightly. It's something that you definitely want to make sure you are an industry expert in, you get investment in, and make sure that the demand and the customer is there, and that brand equity and trust, so that you will be the go-to supplier for a lot of other vendors. So as you know, and as I always say, I hope that gem helped you. And if it did, if I dropped that gem, you can drop some coins. So back to the interview. Thank you so much. That right there, 75,000, that's blown out of the water, right? So now with this new landscape and this new kind of everything that you're facing, I also want to tap into one thing before we get into kind of like how we're fixing that. That is, I know a lot of makeup artists were finding themselves with a new competitor that they never thought about. And that was the makeup enthusiast. So now you have licensed makeup artists who, were largely placed in malls, and then they were able to book and on movie sets and things like that, who found themselves facing competition from the new YouTubers and the influencers who are not licensed, but they've kind of learned maybe the art of makeup. I'm not going to say necessarily the science, but the art of it. And all of a sudden they found themselves like these influencers who are not even licensed are getting booked and able to charge enormous amounts that this person who's going to school, invested in their career, are not. Have nail techs felt the same sting of the influencer market?
Absolutely, because now Instagram is, and it's a good thing and a negative thing, because you have these Instagrammers that are very popular online, and then when the client gets there, the work does not look, because now they're not only good at editing, they're really not that talented, and they're not knowing what they're doing. They're causing harm to these clients. So yes, we are feeling that effect. And I'm not saying everybody, because there are some really, really dope artists. Like, I always give homage. But there are some that, it's all about show. It's all about look at me. And we're forgetting who the most important person in the room is, our client and their health. So yes, I do see that a lot. But honestly, once you get into this business and put your ground in and put your feet into the ground and know that this is what you want to do, it doesn't matter who's on Instagram. It doesn't matter who's popular. You're going to build your clientele. I always tell people, if I had somebody or a student of mine open right next door to me, we only have two hands. There is no competition. You set your price, you make it, and you make your money.
And so for me, that part right there that you said, the health of the client. When I created the booking app, one of the criteria was that you had to be formally trained. And this was right along this kind of like bubbling 2017, 18, 19 of that sort of Instagram influencer culture. So I'm going to say not artist, but enthusiast culture. And I got a lot of questions and pushback. There were people that were like, hey, I'm really, really good. Check out my work, And so for me, it was a quality control measure. I'm a sewing enthusiast. I am not a seamstress. I am not a fashion designer. Just because I've been able to successfully, create some things for myself. Me personally, I knew that I don't really understand the mechanics in terms of sewing and to be able to execute this garment to that level of quality. Now, when we get into makeup and nails, we're talking about chemicals on someone's skin. And so I actually had an experience, because I try to give people the benefit of the doubt too. There was a young lady that I saw and everything looked perfect. She had a look that I wanted. And so I went to her, makeup enthusiast, and she did the makeup, and everything. And on the surface, it looked really good. Well, by the time I got to my event, my under eye had puckered to a level I'd never seen in my life. When I tell you guys, it looked like a real raisin, a prune. It was puckering, and to boot, my eyes would not stop watering. So right along the tear ducts, it started to darken. So now I have this puckering of the skin, and then I have this dark circle pruning. I can't tap this makeup off, right? I'm looking a hot mess. This was an event that I had planned to go for months. There were hundreds of people at this event. And I cannot explain to you guys, like having to sit there and I'm looking at people, and this was not the time I was even wearing glasses, and somebody gave me some frameless glasses, just anything to try to masquerade. But how it felt, like I know what my eyes look like. I can look at this person looking at me like, what the hell is wrong with you? And I'm trying to just, hi, so, and network. And it was the worst experience ever. And when I asked her, She didn't really know or could give me an explanation. You know why? That's a chemical. There's different types of skin texture all over my face. She just used a one size fits all go-to product. So when I decided the criteria, it was to protect the consumer. And I used to tell people, don't feel bad. I don't even qualify to be on my own app. I'm not licensed, okay? So it's not just you. So that right there, the health, let's talk about that, because I've seen some horror stories where I just saw a young woman with fungus like all over her nail beds. My daughter just went to the shop and I said, hey, make sure you take rubbing alcohol and make them sterilize those clippers and things. Can we talk about some of the things that people don't understand or the dangers?
So this is always a debate about to be licensed or not to be licensed. Nobody's taken away from your talent if you're not licensed. What the license does, what the education is, school is just teaching you sanitation, disinfection, and quality control. That's what school is about. You don't walk out of there knowing how to do nails. You don't know how to polish. You don't know those things. They don't teach you those things. They teach you the bare minimum, but they teach you how to sterilize something. They teach you what to look for. They teach you how, if you have a client who has diabetes, to be very careful on cutting them on their feet because they cannot stop bleeding. Or you may cause that, you can cause somebody to lose a toe or a foot if your utensils are not sterilized or you nick them. It's that serious. People don't understand you can cause them to get gangrene just by a simple cut. So this is what school teaches you. It teaches you to look out for certain health things that we're not in the scope of doing. I'm not in the scope of removing corns. I'm not in the scope of getting rid of athlete's foot. Do I know home remedies that can get rid of it? But it's still not under the scope of me. So what school does is teaching you how to protect yourself and the client. So to go to school or not to go to school, I am for one about going to school, because had I not gone to school, I wouldn't have known about barbicide. Now, you just said something that was very important. You said alcohol. Alcohol doesn't kill herpes. Alcohol doesn't kill HIV. Alcohol doesn't kill genital warts or warts. It doesn't kill those things. It doesn't. It does not.
Oh
So you need, that's what barbicide and leukocyte and all these sides are about, because if you look on the bottle, and we are in an interview, but it's just quick. If you look in the bottle, it is a germicide, fungicide, and viricide. That means it's killing up to 99% of those things that we don't want in a salon. We don't want to walk out of there. There was a story and people say, oh, it could be true. It could not be true, but it could be definitely true, because I deal with a lot of people who get funguses from those jets. Yes, they may give you the plastic liner, but did they clean those jets? Did they take the jet apart? Did they scrub the jet? Did they soak that jet? Did they run the water through the jet? So those things are, you won't know that not going to school. And even if you don't go to school, you still need to educate yourself on these things, because I can pass communicable diseases if I'm not cleaning my things properly.
And those jets, I mean, they've already done the research to show that even the fans, the hand dryer fans in the restrooms actually pass off more germs, because they're just recycling that air, and then those germs are sitting and growing, and then they're just blowing back out onto the surfaces, which makes perfect sense when you think about it. Like, yes, that would be a transmission vehicle for that. Now, if they had filters that were some kind of way able to kill it, and disinfect or whatever, but you just threw me. I don't know if you guys heard, she just said that rubbing alcohol does not kill herpes, HIV, and a host of other things that we think, I mean, come on, my grandma and all of us were raised on two things to kill everything, and that was rubbing alcohol and bleach, and now I was today years old when I just found out that no, alcohol is not killing. Oh my God. See, that's what I mean.
Clorox now has its own germicidal brand. Clorox, which we thought killed everything, has their own germicidal brand now. It's Clorox germicide, and this is what we are supposed to be using in the salons too.
Not to mention these superbugs that have gotten resistant to some of the, antibiotics and other household chemicals. They've gotten resistant to these things. That is terrifying. I thank you so much, because again, it does go into the importance of why this license, what you're getting when you're going to school is that education. And it's not to say that a person cannot research these things on their own, but if I'm making a hiring decision, I don't know to what depths you've gone to educate yourself. So I'm going to have to trust into the institution who says, yes, we trained her. She was tested and she passed those tests. So we know that she knows what she's talking about. So I thank you so much for that. Now, also in terms of this new, sort of this, I think one of the downfalls too in the nail culture being sort of exploited is the prices, right? I've never now listen, I'm from back in the day and I know that the prices are not going to reflect. But back in the day, we had our standard, I'm going to say $3 for a color change. It was like $25 for a full set. This is back in the day. But I never thought that I would ever see $300, $400, $500 nail sets, right? So now, I will say in people's defense, I've never seen the level of artistry either that I am seeing now in the nail set. So do you feel like with this new pricing and everyone's going, as good as they can, do you see like a level set? Do you see like where people, because now I'm seeing a response where people are doing more of these home kits. I just saw this new nail thing. So it's like women are now trying to find alternatives to these super high prices. So what kind of challenges are you facing with this price situation?
Well, I'm a businesswoman at the end of the day. So I can't see that there is that operate kit or there are now gel kits that you can do at home and say to myself, well, let me raise my prices higher. You have to know that, especially moving down to Florida, I need to price myself according to where I'm at. Am I more talented than some of the people that I'm around? Yes, not to toot my horn, but I've done the research to see what they're charging, what they're offering. But you also, as a business person, need to be able to offer that silver, bronze, and gold platinum package. Okay. So if I have a Monday, Tuesday that's slow, okay, well, that day I'm doing $65 to $75 short to medium sets. I know that on Friday, Saturday, there's more of a need. Also, I'll do just straight acrylic color with a stone set, with stone nails, with 2 stone nails. Now, somebody comes in here, they said they want Garfield and Friends. We know that that's going to take me a couple of hours. I have to price myself accordingly to how long that takes. Now, because I've been in this business for 10 years, I like to price myself around $65 an hour. So I know that if that set takes me 3 hours, I'm at the $280, $300. But you letting that client know is all the difference, right? But for us to be competitive with what's going on in the street, again, you have to be able to offer different packages. You have to understand that, one, money's so much tighter. During the pandemic, them girls was dropping money, even though we were supposed to be doing nails, but those girls was dropping them stimulus checks. But you have to regroup now. Now it's okay. So if the person cannot come to me and do $300 every 2-3 weeks or 1 month, maybe she could do a set of press-ons. So there's different avenues of making money where you could still be competitive, because those regular press-on sets that they're making don't look like what we're giving you. It doesn't, but you can get a set of press-ons and you still can have or find your niche on where you want to be and still make money.
Now, speaking of that, during the pandemic, that was also something that I recommended. And I saw that at that, when we were in the height of the lockdowns, things like barbers, makeup artists, nail techs suffered greatly because we're close proximity, right, with people. But I saw, and I had recommended that usually you would have thought nail techs and press-on, mortal enemies, right? Like we don't go together. But I saw a lot of techs designing press-on sets, right? Using their artistry, like you said, you there, because we're not gonna get that from the little company and the little kits. But actually those long and very extravagant nail press-on kits, they were starting to sell those press-on kits. And I thought that was absolutely ingenious, because what I've noticed is that, now that we're back outside and everything's fine, some people are like, hey, I like these press-on kits. And so it's added another product line to their business, which would formerly have been perceived competition, right? And that now you're like, wow. So for you, can you just let us know, like, especially from the pandemic and everything else, and any advice that you would have to someone in this industry in terms of sustainability, right? Because I think that No one saw that pandemic coming. That definitely posed a new challenge that people have to kind of consider. And now we have this economical challenge, right? So, what has that been like for you, and any sound advice that you would have, being, definitely a stable person in this industry?
So that's such a loaded question, but we got to make it short. For me, for just for me, I'm not speaking of anybody else. I have come to that point where my salon in Jersey is booming. I no longer live in Jersey. So I have a full staff in Jersey. Shop is doing what it needs to be doing. But for me, now relocating to Florida, I had to take a sit back and be like, okay, sis, you hot shit in Jersey, but you're not hot shit in Florida. So with that being in mind, I said, okay, I still have a following and I'm still getting clients down here. But for me, what's been an eye opener is, as much as I love this industry, I can now take the clients that I have now, because I'm now getting my real estate license and I'm cross marketing. So you have to be able to pivot. Okay. That doesn't mean I'm stopping nails, but them real estate checks down here are different. So set up a plan. My plan may be, I don't know yet if I'll open up another salon down here, but for right now, I'm using my clientele that I am building up down here. Also, people are leaving up north in numerous percentage, right? So I'm able to now help them find homes when they're relocating to Florida. So you have to know how to pivot. And it may not work for the next person, but this is what's working for me, is learning how to pivot. I don't want to leave nails. Nails is not a job for me. It's not a hobby. It's my therapy. I get to sit down, I get to hear, someone's problems and give them. I'm also unbiased too, because I could hear what your husband did, or I could hear what your sister did, and I can give you unbiased opinion, because I don't know these people. And even if I do know them, because I do got families that come to me, I'm still unbiased and I can give you the most sound advice that I possibly can know how. And it's therapy for me. I get to give you a masterpiece of me, and you get to walk around with that for a month. You understand? So it's therapy for me. But you have to know, as a business person and a person who has to take care of your home, how to pivot when your business is not giving you what it needs to give you, without leaving it in totality. Because I put 10 years in, I'm not going in.
So, and speaking of real estate and nails, I've also noticed that, when we start to create like these superstar nail techs, because that's what social media has allowed for. You have barbers and makeup artists who were largely behind the scenes of celebrities becoming their own celebrity in their own right, right? So now you have these celebrity makeup artists and celebrity nail techs, but you even have, like, maybe not celebrity, but they're basically pretty influential. And so we always know that the nail salon, hair salon culture in between the different stylists, right? Especially being independent owner, operator. We made whole movies on it, right? Barbershop and stuff like that. So we know that the dichotomy of the relationships are a little, can be touchy. I can only imagine how exasperated that's gotten now that you get a couple of, like, 2-3 influencer people in your salon. And I saw what I thought was kind of a happy medium for that. And that was the salon suites. So I'm seeing more people get into these suites, which look like, for those of you guys who don't know, as we know, the traditional system is kind of like you have this one salon, and then the artist rent a chair, right? So the barber, he kind of like rents a chair, and the makeup artist rents a station or a booth, nail tech. Now they're having larger spaces, and you're renting like your own private sort of a mini suite area. And that way you're able to service your customers like privately and sort of independently. And I think that what you're talking about with the real estate, that kind of merges those two things. So what is your take on the salon suites situation?
I think they're perfect. And I'm real honest. I've been in salons working under other people. Not a lot, but enough to get a taste of it. I don't like it because you don't have, I'm one of those nail techs that in my salon, everybody gets freedom. You come in, as long as you're professional and handle and keep your space clean and are respectful to all clients, you can do whatever you want, because you collect the same type people around you. If that's always been in my mind. If you're calm and you're not catty, that's who's going to come around you. But I've been in salons where it's uncomfortable, especially when you're the money producer, or you have a salon owner who says, "Oh, I'm gonna charge you $150 a week," and then when they start seeing how much money you make, and they start counting your pockets. So the salon suite makes it where you are the owner of your own salon without that 30 to 40, $50,000 investment that you would have to do to get into a brick and mortar. So, and it's so funny because that's what you're saying. That's my goal down here. I necessarily wouldn't want to do another shop. I'm tired. Girls are tired. Okay. I would rather just do salon suites. You come in, you get your own space. I keep the space very clean. You come in, we paint, we give you your equipment, and you go ahead and just do you pay your rent, and I'm off hands.
Goal. That I see that to me as being just the most logical step for someone like yourself, because I think it's that interim space where some people are now looking and they want to expand, they want to scale, but they're not quite ready, like you said, to take on that investment and even the emotional and everything that comes with that. But they want to kind of like dip their toe into it. And I think that offering something like, one, the facility, but then eventually the mentorship and the guidance to take a person to say, now when you are ready for a salon, or maybe to host a salon suite like this, here are the next steps. And I really see you as being the person, or the type of person being in this business for 10 years, who's able to do that, and now being licensed and educated in real estate to really understand the nuances of those commercial leasing spaces and those contracts and everything like that. Like, I really see that as just being a logical step. And those are two things that people probably would have thought on the surface don't go together, right? Like nail salon, real estate agent, like, oh, honey, those marry perfectly well. So with that being said, and I don't know if, like I said, I didn't know if y'all don't know, we did not discuss this ahead of time. So this is all organic, it's all coming up. Can you let everyone know, one, is that something that you will be offering? Is that, so am I predicting this, or is this something you already started on?
You already see the future. So we're not even gonna go there with you. So that is the route that I'm going. So in the next 2 years that I'm looking for, I am actually currently looking. I'm in Port St. Lucie, Florida, and I am looking. If you turn your head too quick, there's a new house. So we have such an influx of people. So that is my mission right now for the next 2 years.
So is this something that somebody could, maybe by the time this airs, you might want to have a little waiting list for interested people who might want to kind of like, hey, since I don't know where you're at, but I would like to get into whatever beta group, I mean, just to be around right now, so we can do some think tanking on what this looks like. So now with that being said, she does not have the list yet, you guys, because we're carving this out right here live in real time. But by the time this launches, which I'm thinking is gonna be next week, I'm gonna make sure that sis has a list. So can you please let the people know right now how to find you and get in touch with you, so that they can have access to that, plus everything else that you got going on?
So I have a brick and mortar in Kearney, New Jersey. So it's 105 Johnston Avenue, Nail by Celine Salon. You can always Google me. I am able to be found in Port St. Lucie. I am in Kearney once a month. At the end of the month, I stay about 4 days, knock all my clients out, come back home exasperated, and come back to Port St. Lucie to work. I'm on Nail by Celine. You can find me on Booksy. Phone number is everything. I'm so Googleable that I don't have a private space of my own. So you could just always just Google me and you'll be able to find me.
Okay, so now, of course, this is going to be at the bottom of the screen, but for those of you who are listening audibly, it's Nail by Celine. Can you give them the spelling on that?
Yes, NAILD, no E, BYCELINE .Booksy, BOOKSY.com.
Yeah, so there's no E in the nail, okay? It's an apostrophe, but you don't have that in the handle, so it's nailed without an E. So I thank you so much for literally jumping, you just dropped so much information and things that I didn't know. I'm blown away. And also that inspiration too, for anyone who's looking to see this and seeing an exit, but not necessarily an abandonment of that industry or any industry that you love. So as always, you guys, I thank you so very much for tuning in. I hope you got information. I hope you got motivation, inspiration, and I hope to see you on the next episode of the Drum Circle Show. Goodbye.